What is up, YouTube, and welcome to this What If Episode 1 breakdown, recap, and review. This is part of the MCU where we delve in to the chaos of the multiverse, and it's evident what Marvel are setting up here. We will have spoilers for the Loki Season 1 finale as it's integral to this season, so please do be warned if you haven't seen that. What ifs, be it original comics from Marvel or DC's spin on What If with the Tales from the Dark Multiverse, they never really interested me. It's always been something I never saw as something which I felt I needed, and I get why other people like it because it's why Death Battles is so popular, and we can settle debates like, what if Peggy took the serum or T'Challa was taken by Yondu? Wait, those are questions I've never asked myself and I don't think anyone else did. But here we are. It is the first time in MCU history I have watched a Marvel Studios project and, to be honest, had zero hype. I can appreciate that many others are excited and that Marvel Studios is moving more into animation, which really is exciting. It gives an opportunity to bust open adaptations that would cost far too much to make, like a proper and full Kree-Skrull war. The stories are narrated by Jeffrey Wright, playing Uatu the Watcher. You may recognise him from Westworld and his narration and bringing to life one of the oldest advanced being in Marvel Comics is nothing short of goosebump inducing. The Watchers are an ancient race and made their MCU debut in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 during the Face Warpy scene. We see them later in the movie again talking to Stan Lee, who was himself the subject of a fan theory that he is playing a shapeshifted Watcher. Here, the Watcher returns and first appeared in Fantastic Four number 13, and the Watchers are forbidden from interfering and merely observe. You know shit's about to go down when a Watcher appears, but, well, this character cannot interfere, but I expect him to possibly do that at the end. Why? Well, each story, as I predicted in a theory on TikTok, is not a simple non-canon what if, but actually a variant timeline created in this new multiverse as a result of the end of Loki Episode 1. Each episode will focus on a new timeline where, as we found out in the Loki show, the tiniest change can create a branch. And I was very lucky enough to be able to watch episode 1, 2, and 3. And yes, they are very cool in absolutely going to the upper limits of the MCU, which I find very conservative a lot of the time in their adaptations. But here, oh, you aren't ready for episode 2, boys. Now, each episode will focus on the tiny little change that can create a branch in the timeline, which, as we know at the end of the Loki Season 1 finale, yeah, that's what's happening now. Now here, Peggy Carter decided to stay in the room where Steve received the super soldier serum. In the original movie, the Bigwigs and Peggy stayed in a viewing booth, but here they were downstairs in the actual room where it happened and came downstairs once Steve was given the serum, and we had that whole assassin. Here, the assassin hit his bomb downstairs before Steve was injected, and Steve was shot trying to save Peggy. A huge change as Erskine died, and the serum, of course, like the original movie, died with him, until it was perfected in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This meant that if they didn't do it there and then, they had no chance as the serum could have been destroyed, I guess. Now, I'm not sure what I was expecting, but Peggy comes out jacked, looking like Abby from The Last of Us 2, some absolute straight up yokeness. We see the blatant sexism and reason why Peggy never took the serum herself or was given the chance to, as she is chewed out by the upper army bigwigs. The biggest change we see is, of course, that Bucky doesn't have the relationship with her, but weirdly the episode does still follow mainly the same beats of the movie. Red Skull gets a Tesseract, leading Peggy and Howard Stark to devise a plan to go and get it, and this is a big change, but the rest of the episode largely follows it. It's weird, but they take the Tesseract after it was taken to Norway, and they perform a pretty daring assault in Berlin, which I think it was, as it looked like they were near Brandenburg Gate. Now, this is the most interesting change, as this means 1, Steve would not have been frozen, 2, the Tesseract would have been recovered a lot earlier. Yes, absolute infinite possibilities, but yeah, they kind of waste that. In reality, that should have been the end, but the Red Skull has another very, very cool plan up his sleeve as Peggy goes to save Bucky and the rest of the Howling Commandos, but we see a strange part of the variant timeline. Now, personally, I am not a fan of Steve continuing on and being given his proto-Iron Man suit, which was the Hydra Stomper. It's weird as Tony invented the Mark I for a very specific situation, getting out of the cave with someone else. So it's very hard to believe that this would be invented right here using the Tesseract. However, it reduces the impact of Captain Carter heavily. Steve and Bucky, well, they had each other and the Howling Commandos, but that was it. There was no super Iron Man suit to fly him up in the air. It also seems a bit of a waste for the Tesseract, but the montage of them working together was very, very cool. And the animation of this is just so smooth and the action is just great. And I think that they're doing a great job here. And I'm excited to see where Marvel and Disney go with this new direction of technology in this animation studio. Because as we saw with The Mandalorian, their tech that they had for the virtual set was the ideas that they could do is just great. We then see them work together and we get the infamous train scene where Bucky went missing, but Steve goes missing here instead and is conveniently found later. I was hoping that he would become the Winter Soldier. That'd be pretty funny. Now, Red Skull has managed to take the Tesseract back and used it to power something much, much worse. He has summoned the Champion of Hydra. Now, this is really weird, and I'm not too sure as that the screener I had didn't have the credits, but it instantly reminded me of Hive, or at least Hive's portrayal in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, Hive was created by Hydra in the comics, and the creation would then be able to control human hosts, and would go on to be a figurehead of Hydra due to its power, alongside the new Madame Hydra, Valentina. Yes, Val, who is in the MCU. Now, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Hive came from Maveth, and was experimented on by the Kree, making it an Inhuman designed to control a Kree army, or a Kree Inhuman army. His followers then created a cult after his banishment to a barren planet, but this cult evolved into Hydra, and Hydra prospects were sent to Hive, and eventually he came to Earth, but he just had a squid face, he's not just a giant squid. Now, just like the Darkhold, it seems like Feige's taking some of the coolest stuff from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and using it to be added to the MCU proper, which reminds me of how certain Star Wars legacy lore is being folded back into the Disney lore. We see Steve saved by the crew and the Red Skulls open up the portal and Peggy looks superb in her Union flag outfit, and then she gets a sword. She's not Captain Britain. I've seen people say she's Captain Britain. They're two very, very different people, and I'm still holding out for that. Peggy's journey parallels the main MCU timeline, where she sacrifices herself, just like Steve, despite the promise of one last dance, and heads through the portal. Now, this was my favourite part of the episode. On the other side, she arrives at Project Pegasus. In Avengers, Loki came through this portal here, but Peggy has arrived and she is the legend who has been missing all this time instead of Steve. It's a new future, which is pretty cool, and look metal as fuck with a sword and with her Union Jack shield. She's the woman out of time, and I imagine that she's been stuck in the Tesseract there. And that end change was the most creative change. And if you like that, then episode 2 is going to be a mind meld. While I enjoyed the episode, I feel like Captain Carter was let down a bit by the story by shoehorning Steve Rogers in. I mean, it's not even Chris Evans' voice, so come on, why? It's not like you're paying the guy millions just to do a voice and you've got to use him as much as possible. I'm excited to see where this goes and if these stories will fold into the multiverse of madness. And Chadwick Boseman is going to be in 4 episodes, so they will connect. I expect episode 4, like most of these MCU TV shows, will be a paradigm shift and we'll see the true story. But that is it for this video. Please drop a like down below. Do subscribe with notifications on, and I'll see you soon, and goodbye.